Today I'm going to do an update review on the Garmin Zumo 396 LMTS. Stick around, this will be a good one. So last year, the spring of 2020, I did a review on Garmin, the 396 LMTS. And I did a slight comparison between this one and their newest model, which is the Garmin Zumo XT. And during that time, I found some big differences in price and a few other things about the items. I came back and I want to do an update on it because since that time I made that review, I was able to take this on several long-term rides, and I noticed some key feature differences and some things were between the two items where the gap was closed. So as I stated in my original video, I purchased this one over the other one more or less out of the price, because at that time I didn't notice a lot of feature differences between the two of them, and this one was about, at the time, $200 to $250 cheaper than the other one. And there really wasn't a whole lot of, for me, things about it that made me really want to spend that extra money. Let's discuss some of the important differences between this model, the 396, and the XT. The 396 advertises on the Garmin website for $329. The XT's advertised for $499. So a little bit of a difference, but the gap has shrunk. When I purchased this device, it was closer to a $200 difference. Now it's down to roughly $160. And depending on where you buy on Amazon, off season, the prices are even fluctuate even more. You can go down more. So resolution. So this has a resolution of 480p. The XT has a resolution of 1280p. So big difference in resolution. A screen size, like I said, this is a 4.5 screen. It advertises 4.5. The XT has a screen size of 5-inch, so only half-inch difference. But if you hold them up, that real estate is noticeable. I think the big thing that you'll probably see is a resolution better, and having topographic maps, just more detail. Both update via Wi-Fi, so that's good. That was one feature that I really like about that. And internal storage, this one has 16 gigabytes and XT has 32 gigabytes. Now, as far as that concerned, I don't really see that important unless you're saving gobs of waypoints and locations, and even then I'm not sure how much you would eat up in there. So those are the big differences. There's other differences in there in apps and so forth that I'm not going to get into because I think they're minimal. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the apps. So we're going to go back to the home page. We'll go to apps, and these are all the various apps here. There's a trip planner where you can put in all the locations, kind of similar to what you find on Google Maps, where you can put in multi-locations and it'll build a route through that. You can share your route. You have to have some kind of a connection to your smartphone to share that route. Live Track I haven't used. Tracks I haven't used either. Pandora, I haven't used that either. Basically, you can listen to Pandora via your cell phone. And a common thing here, anything where I am hooking up my cell phone to this, I'm not using it a lot. And I talked about this in my previous video. The idea was to have this standalone mapping. So if you get out in the country, there's no cell phone service. I'm not beholden to that. Media player, this would be like if you downloaded a bunch of songs to a memory card and put it in here. That's kind of old school now, but some people still do that. Smart notifications, this requires a link to your cell phone again. And smart notifications is like traffic congestion, construction, things like that are it's real-time notifications. Compass, I'll show you what that looks like quick and fast. These are all the details and the headings that you can view, and these are all configurable here. So for instance, I go to that, I can do a heading, direction, or speed, save it, and now it's showing speed. I'm going to go back to heading though. So either one of these are. So let's go to the next level down. Fuel settings, that's a simple arithmetic, all it is. Basically, you tell the Garmin device how many miles you get out of a tank of gas, and then you plug that in there, and it'll equate those miles that you say. Like for instance, I get roughly, comfortably, I can get 225 miles out of a tank of gas. Tell Garmin that, and as it ticks closer, 200 miles, it'll send me a signal, hey, you're within 25 miles of your maximum fuel range. That's all it is. My computer on my motorcycle does that better than this would ever do, because this is real time. It's actually showing the fuel go up and down, and that's just a matter of miles that you've traveled. Verb remote, haven't used remote. Round trip is you can do a series of points. It's very similar to Trip Planner, very similar to that, and you just put points of stop around. Track back is a very nice thing to have. As soon as you turn on your Garmin and you take off and it's running, it's creating that track of where you've gone. You hit that and it flips you around and you go right back the direction you came. I've used it a few times. Mostly where I use that is up in the woods on the logging roads, where you may lose a point of reference. So yeah, it is a possibility to use that. Phone, there again, you have to hook up your phone to it, so you can actually talk on your telephone via that. But then again, why do I want that connection? Why don't I just talk my phone right into my headset? Whatever. Service history, same thing. You can put your service history in, your miles, what you've done, when you're going to do it. You can put in a plan, a certain date you need an oil change, mileage you need an oil change. But there again, this is another feature that's neat, but I do that in another app on my phone. So smartphone link, traffic trends, parking trends, and so forth. And we talked about traffic. Foursquare, it's kind of like round trip. Foursquare, you pick 4 points you want to go, and in any order, Garmin will build you a route randomly out of those 4 points. TripAdvisor basically is just information from TripAdvisor, gas stations, food, restaurants, motorcycle shops, things like that, and that's all preloaded and updated with your general updates. Where I've been simply is just different tracks of points where I've been, and so forth, and you can clear that if you want. Matter of fact, I'm going to just for fun, because who cares. Owner's manual for this device. Okay, I think I'd rather go to the website and look at it on a computer, but you have it here. So if you wanted to, maybe you're at a campsite and you can't sleep at night, you can read through that. Last spot just points where I was last, that's all, and then I can go to my last spot. So my last spot basically was when I left my home. I can hit go, I can save it, and so forth. And helmet guide, this is another little feature. It's just information about each the 50 states helmet requirements. I don't know if it's international or not. Somebody's going to ask me that, and I'm not sure. Let's take a quick look. See, Alaska, Arkansas, Colorado, Delaware, Hawaii. Yeah, it looks like it's just the 50 states. Not something that I've really used in my Garmin. It is kind of a nifty feature, I suppose, so if I'm on the road and crossing into a state quick and fast. But then again, I wear my helmet all the time, so it doesn't mean a whole lot for me. You'll see, though, when I'm traveling, various ribbons, like when you're crossing into states, it'll give you a little heads up there with a helmet saying, hey, you're entering a state that requires a helmet. That's all. So those are the basic features in there. Some of the other things that I saw, so you can configure your what's on the screen. Let's go back to locations. So here's the problem that I found with the Garmin device. It's not as smooth as like Apple phones, or excuse me, I shouldn't say Apple mapping or Google mapping, as far as being able to quickly pick up a location. So if I type in here, let's do it right now. Watch what happens. I'm going to type in a place. I'm up here in the Northwest, and Roche Harbor is a pretty familiar place. Most people in Washington, if not the Northwest, if I said Roche Harbor, they would pretty much know where it is. It's a popular tourist destination up in the Puget Sound Islands. So, let's see, R. Now, usually, if I type this in my Google Maps, by I get this far, it'll start giving you a list of different Roches. And we'll keep going here. Yeah, there's Roche Harbor. And I'll even go one better, and I'm going to put Washington. Okay, so now I've got Roche Harbor, Washington. Can't find it. Now, if I clear that out, we'll put a known city in there. It knows where Seattle is. So what I found with Garmin is some of these off-beat the path, or what it thinks are off-beaten path, not so well-known locations, you can't just put in the city. Even worse than that, if I typed in a specific address in that little community of Roche Harbor, it wouldn't find it. It actually put me off on the other side of the island, 20 miles off. So that's something I'll probably make a note to Garmin saying, hey, your map's off here. That's pretty significant. A lot of these places I found that off the beaten path, it won't always correctly list those locations. Major cities, yes. Let's talk about configurations of it. So we're going to go back, clear that out. Let's go all the way back here, and let's go to settings, map preferences. This is all pretty good. Map detail theme, pretty straightforward. I'm not going to spend a long time on it. What I am going to spend on is navigation. So there's different ones. There's off-route recalculation, adventure, calculation mode. So let's start with calculation mode. So I've got a choice of configuring it to find the fastest route, Garmin Adventurous routing, off-road routes, and shorter distance. So obviously we know the difference between faster and shorter. You could have a straight line, but if it's all surface streets, you might have a lot of street lines, so it may actually take you longer to time-wise to get there, versus the fastest route may say, oh, I can jump on the freeway over here and I can go at a higher rate of speed, get to my location quicker. This one, adventure one, so let's say if I'm going to save that one. So now it's going to calculate, it wants to find curves, hills, and highway usages. So what it's going to do is it's going to try to avoid highways, find curvy roads and hills and stuff. What we want to ride out the country of the motorcycle, right? If I use that setting while I'm in a large city and I go from point A to point B, it will a lot of times take you 180 degrees away from where you actually need to go, because you've told the system to find you curvy roads to the detriment of your time. And it literally will do that. I went from one city to the next here in the Northwest, just wanted to get home, plugged it in just for fun, and all of a sudden I'm noticing that it's wanting me to take a right turn, which is away from my destination, and go up in the hills. Well, because up over to my right is twisty, windy roads, so it's trying to run me along through there, and versus going straight home. And if I would have followed it, it would have taken me probably another 3 hours longer. So in city and community areas, that would be something that I would shut off. Now, here's the other thing. So now I'm in adventure routes. Let's go to that. I can raise and lower the preference of that. So if highways versus twisty roads, if I prefer more of these, I can flip that over there. If I want to avoid major, well, that's curves. If I want to prefer hills, if I like a lot of hills, I put that over there. If I want to avoid major highways, I'd put that over there. if we're in the city, I would leave it here. As a matter of fact, 99% of the time, I leave it in this mode. It's rarely that I do this, the adventure mode. What I found that the adventure mode was the most useful for is I'm just going to go exploring and allow Garmin to set me a route from point A to point B. Last Friday, we left on a motorcycle trip, and I wanted to stay off the freeway as much as I could, and so I Google mapped it first, and Google Maps sent me due north parallel to the freeway to the point where I had to cut back over to the freeway. Garmin did a really interesting thing. When point A was my house, point B was Woodland, Washington. When Garmin did that, it had me just going all over the place for that first hour of the ride, and that was okay because it took me did exactly what it was supposed to do. Took me all over curvy roads, up, down, twisting, everything you want on a motorcycle ride. So that piece of experimentation is pretty good. So I guess what I'm saying is if time's not a factor for you and you want to explore new areas, yeah, use the Garmin Adventure. If time is a factor, if you're in a city, I wouldn't use the Adventure. I would stick with either the fastest or the most direct route. Let's talk a little bit more about the screen. So what I do like before, and I said in my initial video, is it's very touch sensitive to gloves. That's great, Garmin. I like that. The icons are good size, so you can touch each one of those, and all these are touch sensitive here. So time and so forth, obviously minimizing and maximizing, that all is. So that's really good. I like that, and that's one thing that's Garmin did a good job of building this device around a motorcyclist with gloves on. As you see in the top of the screen, this is the intersections that I'm approaching and passing. So you just went up to 214. Time is obvious. Average speed is obvious. Elevation is obvious. Direction, I'm heading east. You can change that to actual, let's see if I can do it while riding. Yep, it's got direction going right now. So I guess and then down here is the street that I'm actually on. So see the ribbons on the top, the caution ribbons? It's saying I've got curves coming up in, tenths of a mile. Just kind of a nice little warning feature. Nothing magical about those ribbons. When Garmin downloads its mapping data from like Department of Transportation, various state highways, city maps and stuff like that, and they combine it into their system, they're downloading all this data. So that these cautionary signs, that's all in the mapping data that gets pushed up to the internet by the various government entities. But let's say if I want to just look at the map, I don't want to look at all that stuff. Boom. Now I've just got roads. And if you look here, and look at the yellow cautionary sign there. Now one thing I noticed about the cautionary ribbons, they're not 100%. Not every single yellow cautionary sign will equate to a ribbon on here, but it seems to catch the predominant amount of them. Now if I want my information back, I got to go here, back to thing, hit that deal, and boom, they're back again. One question that somebody asked me in my previous video, can you add maps? Can you download your own maps and from like the internet and put them on here? Is sort of. You can do that. You have to make sure and transfer your map like a Google map, and make sure it's transferred to a JPEG. You also have to make sure and shrink it down to a size, a correct size, otherwise it will be kind of wonky on the machine. And I'm not sure if it's going to show all the data here. It'll probably show your routing, but it won't show you everything up here in the ribbons. So in that respect, it's like, I have heard that the newer version, the Garmin XT, the Zumo XT, does a better job of that, and the Zumo XT also does topographical maps, where this one doesn't. So those are the big differences between this one and the XT. And I didn't really come up with a lot of cons to this. It's just that there's some things you have to take into consideration when you're configuring it and using it. The big differences between this one and the XT is the resolution, 480p versus 1280p. Screen size, a ½ inch bigger. This is 4.5 inches. The XT is 5 inches. And that's about the only differences, you know. They both update their maps via Wi-Fi. All these apps, Pandora and stuff, I just don't find myself using them very much. They're kind of neat, they're handy, and some of you might find a few of those apps very useful for you. So all in all, since I've had this device, I've been very happy with it. Once I got to learn all the features and how to use them best, this is a great device. And would I purchase it again? Yes. Would I recommend this device? Yes. Would I recommend somebody get the more modern one, the XT? Yeah. I'd ask the people what you want out of the device. Would I buy it? Not then, maybe now. When I purchased this one, it was quite a bit more money, and I didn't need all those extra features. Now it would be kind of nice to have a little higher resolution. I think it's also something to be said with Garmin that they continue to manufacture this model as well as the XT. It's just a proven workhorse, and for what a person wants, this does a really good job. If you have the Garmin 396, let me know your feelings about it, things you've found out about it, and how you use it. Do you use all those apps, or do you tend not to? Also, for any of those out there that have the Garmin Zumo XT, let us know what you think. Do you like it? Do you think it's worth having spending extra money versus this 396? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button to receive all the latest notifications on the upcoming videos. And we'll see you on the next ride.